हम लोग ना इजाजत मांगते हैं, इज्जत नहीं मांगते. And that's also one of the reasons why in deep technology we have not done well. From the demand side perspective, today what we experience is that the world is going from bigger is better world to a faster is better world. That we are going to focus on a new way of thinking about problem solving that focuses on the interactions rather than the entities. Not technology, not business, not math, not design thinking, not behavioral economics, but the interactions between all of those. Which means we are living in a connected world. It's like a spaghetti. That spaghettification of the world, it's called complexity. When ignorance and knowledge are making love to each other, that sex is called learning. So the discovery of your own ignorance becomes extremely, extremely important. With three important words: I don't know. There were two problems we were solving. One from the demand side and the other from the supply side. On the demand side, there was something incorrect about the way people are thinking about problem solving. And on the supply side, I've always felt that India, while it's super exciting, is oriented towards cost arbitrage rather than innovation arbitrage. हम लोग ना इजाजत मांगते हैं, इज्जत नहीं मांगते. Deep down. And that's also one of the reasons why in deep technology we have not done well. We've not done well with products. We are solving a this of India, an Amazon of India, a DoorDash of India, an Uber of India. We are not solving original thinking. Thoda mein kam hai. From the demand side perspective, today what we experience is that the world is going from a bigger is better world to a faster is better world. It's going from an economies of scale world. How many of you heard the word economies of scale? Some of you heard that word. Have you heard the word economies of speed? You've probably not heard. Because that word is not yet created in management thinking. So the thought process is that we are also going from a world of making products and services to making experiences. And the science of experiences and the science of interactions are one and the same. Problem solving today is happening as separate entities. Problem solving in the future will happen as interactions. Very simple, I tell you how. How many of you love Pav Bhaji? You love Pav Bhaji? You love Pav Bhaji. Pav Bhaji is an interaction. It's not the aloo. It's not the tomatoes. It's not the capsicum. It's not the garlic. But an interaction. It's not the pav. It's not the maska, butter. But it's the interaction of all of those things coming together. Pav Bhaji happens very much like love. Love is an emergent phenomena. It happens. इसलिए बोलते हैं प्यार किया नहीं जाता, हो जाता है. Right? So with that perspective, most experiences happen. They are a happening. Which means you have to appreciate how the happening happens. Right? So hydrogen and oxygen can create something very, very beautiful. What is it? But it can also create something very dangerous, which is called hydrogen peroxide. The nature of the interaction can be life-giving or life-taking. So it is not the ingredients that matter, but rather the interactions between those ingredients that matter. So this perspective for us meant that we are going to focus on a new way of thinking about problem solving that focuses on the interactions rather than the entities. Not technology, not business, not math, not design thinking, not behavioral economics, but the interactions between all of those, right? As we focus ourselves towards skills, we move towards entities, which is important. Which is very, very important. But as much the bigger with which we go into skills, we need to have the ability to come out of skills. When we go into skills and tools, we achieve a few things which give us independence. But when we come out of skills and tools, which gives us a new mindset, we go from independence to interdependence. So it is at interdependence where you solve the world's problems. where you have this feeling that I am important, but I am not enough. We are working together with him to make this interdependence happen. The aloo loves the tomato. The tomato loves the garlic. The garlic loves the capsicum. They all appreciate the fact that in Sardar Pav Bhaji, in Tardeo, you have to work. Anybody from Mumbai? Sardar Pav Bhaji? 2 weeks back. Stomach must be still feeling it. As soon as I go to Sardar Pav Bhaji, I must find the nearest toilet nearby. But still I go. Because the experience is so beautiful. But jokes apart, it's the interaction at which the things happen. Today, everything is connected to everything, which means we are living in a connected world that we cannot fathom. It's more connected than we can imagine. It's like a spaghetti. That spaghettification of the world is there's a technical term for that. It's called complexity. All of you should look up this word complexity science. You have to start reading up on complexity science. Nobody's teaching you that right now. Because nobody has a course on it right now. Till we get to areas like complexity science, graph theory, network theory, systems thinking, we are not going to be prepared for a world of algorithms. So, unfortunately, the people who prepare you for your future are from the past. That's always going to be the case. I think today what's happening in problem solving is that we are seeing problem solving with a mindset of entities, which means for every one current state, there's one future state. And then you're taking a linear journey like this. That's mostly engineering. But let's assume for a second that there's one current state here and there's multiple future states. How would you do that? How would you make this journey from this one current state to multiple future states? Have you watched the movie Interstellar? What is the Lazarus missions? ठीक से देखा है तो एक बार देखो तो Interstellar is you have to read watch Interstellar 15 times. As they go into those future visions, they are exploring all those future state planets. So you can't make linear journeys towards every future planet, future state. So you have to circle around all of them without touching any of them. Kind of like how you do Tinder. Nine. Right? Problems on the end. But the women also do that. Huh? Women do that more than men, I guess. Huh? So, right? So the thought process is you have to circle around all the future states without touching any future state. But at the same time, you need the engineering linear path also. So the typical path will be current state. You'll go like this, circle around all the future states, spiral, till you get the best planet that you want to be. So that means that you need empathy and engineering interacting with each other. How does engineering affect empathy? And how does empathy affect engineering? How does Shiva affect Shakti? And how does Shakti affect Shiva? How does Brahma affect Saraswati? And how does Saraswati affect Brahma? How does Vishnu affect Lakshmi? And how does Lakshmi affect Vishnu? It is at the interaction of those two things that things get done, but not at the separation of those people. Till you feel you are independent, you are stuck. You have to get to interdependence with each of you among yourself, but also with the technology. As much as you are benefiting from the technology, how much is the technology benefiting from you? That's the feedback loops. The more you can create interdependence feedback loops, the more it's going to be interesting. And you're going to converge towards a better problem-solving perspective. So with this perspective, we had just 3 philosophies with which we built the company. I'm going to stop at that and then open it out for questions. 1, and most of these are going to be, I want to make it controversial, like, Lambia. So I'm going to say, first thing I'm going to say is that knowledge is bad. And second thing I'm going to say, experts are really, really bad. And third thing I'll say, is that intellectual property is very, 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 very bad. 3 controversial statements? Huh? Have I made 3 controversial statements? Yes. Now let me prove, let me kind of build a case. Only a controversial statement allows for learning to happen. Because I have to shake you before the fruit of your brain falls a little bit. If I don't shake you, the fruits don't fall. Right? I have to create disturbance. And in that disturbance, I allow for a time frame given to me called attention. Attention cannot happen without disturbance. Right? Why is knowledge bad here? Because it represents the past. Learning is going to be more important than knowing. And what is going to be more important than learning? Ignorance is going to be more important than learning. So ignorance is more important than knowledge. Learning, that's more important than, Learning is nothing but the interaction between ignorance and knowledge. When ignorance and knowledge are making love to each other, that sex is called learning. So the discovery of your own ignorance becomes extremely, extremely important. Discovery of ignorance is going to be very, very important. And therefore, thinking about it from that perspective is going to be very important. Therefore, don't be so proud about what you know. Rather, be excited about what you don't know. First, controversial statement, tick mark. And we'll question everything later. Second controversial statement. Experts represent what? The past too. And what is more important to the past is the current experimentation. Experimentation is more important than experts, right? The future is an expectation of experience that is not even, real. I mean, it's in your mind. कि मुझे ये चाहिए, right? It's an expectation of experience for which you will try a lot of things out. So you have to reduce cost of experimentation. You have to reduce your cost of curiosity. You have to reduce cost per question. Till you reduce cost per question, you will not be curious enough, And with that perspective, you have to go and hit where you need to hit. So my perspective to you is that experimentation is more important than expert, right? And the last one is intellectual property is bad because intellectual property comes from a perspective of scarcity. कि मुझे ये पता है, and I'm going to keep it away from you. And because of that, I'm going to generate an economic rent from you. But in a world that is constantly changing, the value of intellectual property is going down constantly. Therefore, you don't have time to extract that rent. Therefore, it is foolish to keep secrets. So, interaction property is more important than intellectual property. Because interaction means the happening will happen, right? So, this is the thought process, and this is always there in us. And this was always, and that's why many people who even after leaving Mu Sigma are Mu Sigmans. And that's why so many of them have done well, in our field and other fields.
We have learned by ourselves. Something which is from our originating from us. So what kind of experience, what kind of things we should do? So we learn by ourselves, not by other people.
I think deep down, most of us have been tested for coming up with answers throughout our life. We have been asked answer papers. We have not been tested on coming up with questions. And therefore, we always look to keep, challenging of, we are challenged by the situation rather than challenging the situation. So if you want to go inward, we have to start developing an inquiry engine. And that manifestation of that inquiry engine in us with 3 important words. I don't know. It's going to be very, 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 very important. And the second we start feeling that truly there is a certain level of humility that comes. You have to appreciate that humility, but not allow that to make you scared. Humility is good till it scares you into a feeling that you have to be afraid of the problem. So you have to harmonize it with irreverence. So I don't know with one more letter, one more word. I don't know yet. That yet makes it irreverent. Which means what? I built an inquiry engine with a philosophy that I don't know yet. I will know in the future. The future version of Shashank is going to know this. And I am learning from the future version of Shashank. So I'm going to talk to the future version of Shashank and say, future Shashank, tell me what I need to know. Right? And that starts that, how will you learn from the future version of Shashank? If that's your why, then your what has to be through experimentation. Over going to Mr. John, please tell me Lex Friedman, please tell me, what's his name? Sam Waldman. All the experts are Goras. You see. And they start mangte rehte unse. Right? So you have to say, I don't want to speak to anybody else, but I want to speak to me, the future version of me. And if I have to be that, I have to interact with the future version of me in a very, in a very bipolar way, without feeling that you're crazy. But it is the crazy ones who change the world. Right? So hide your craziness. As much as you can, you hide your craziness. But find your craziness.
On the first contradictory statement, you stated about knowledge and ignorance. So ignorance, in particular, you're talking in respective of knowledge or in respective to all conventional norms that exist in society?
All conventional. Ignorance is what I don't know. The discovery of ignorance is I know what I don't know. If I give you a shape, okay, this, what is the shape? 2-dimensionally. Rectangle. Right? Come here. Give me an exact shape of his head with a word. You cannot. Right? At that point, you are discovering your ignorance around the fact that there is no word yet to describe his head. That's so. The feeling of ignorance is coming to you. That, hey, here is a shape that I have not seen before. It's at that point where learning starts happening. The dot recognizes that it's not enough, so it goes to the next dot, and becomes a line. The line decides that it does not want to be a line anymore and changes direction and becomes a rectangle or a square by changing dimensions, and a new dimension is created. And then that rectangle becomes a cuboid by creating another dimension. Every time a new dimension is created, we are experiencing a new feature. But it makes us uncomfortable because the dot has to leave being a dot to become a line. The line has to leave being a line to become a square or rectangle. When that leaving happens, a little fear comes. But overcoming that fear, with Guru Salman Khan's dialogue, "Nar ke aage jeet hain," is that, feeling of newer dimensions creating to newer and newer features. And at that point of time, you are like, you're appreciating that and going,
So Dhiraj, after listening to your whole session, I understood that you have a very particular way of articulating your thoughts and keeping it in precise words. Now the problem with me and many of my peers are like, if we have an idea, when we are explaining it to others, we are not particular and we are going around. So how to work on that?
For me, I understood that human beings like stories. And we make meaning happen to us through the stories in which we live. And therefore, for me, I test how much I have learned by trying to teach it. And that requires a certain level of generosity in your heart. So you will have to, walk when nobody is there. You have to talk to somebody as if somebody was there and trying to teaching it. But obviously, if you're walking and teaching to your son, but that's important. You need a level of humility to practice teaching when nobody else is around. And then try to practice teaching with people. And if Lambia doesn't give you attention, you have to ask for it. Right? Because for me, it's at the interaction where things are happening. Nothing happens to me without the interaction. In fact, I get demoralized when the other person is not engaged. You feel that feeling, right? That when the other person is not listening to you and you're just talking, you say like, shit, it demoralizes you. Right? If you're true to yourself. But if you're not true to yourself, you don't need to. You're not bothered about the other guy. You just can. But that makes you. You're not really being in the moment of calling it out, saying that I want your attention. Because I'm here for your attention. I really, really deserve it. Because it's at the attention where the interaction happens. I will not accept it when you don't give me your attention. I will fight for it. I will not be bothered about what you think about me. 4 increments. Okay? 1. Everything comes from your mind. 2. You are what you are, not what others say about you. 3. Don't make assumptions. 4. Do your best. That's all you can do. Don't make assumptions about anything. Every second, ask yourself, what's the assumption you're making? And question your assumptions. Sometimes we assume a lot. And would assume that by pulling Labia up, he will not like me. But I could also assume that at some point he'd start liking me when he understands my intention. So the level of optimism I convey to the world will give the world, myself, a chance of taking risk. What do entrepreneurs do? I mean, look at these guys. They could have made so much more money by not being entrepreneurs. But they gave up so much to put the last 10 years and build this. How hard is it? You know, they didn't know that. That means that that soul naturally has optimism in it. And it's that optimism that we're all benefiting from. You know, it's that they are taking a chance on themselves and the interaction between all of us together. Yeah. And 99% of them say, right? But they still say, no, I'll go. I'll. But it's not that they had a choice. They could never have succeeded in a company. They just are naturally wired to be free, and they just followed their natural self. What will come in the way is what will arrest them and you is your needs. Your need to be compensated for all the boring stuff that you will take so that you can't express the interesting part of yourself. The more you are arrested by that, the less you will express yourself.
So my question is that what aspect do you think is the most important we should consider while experimenting on different paths? Like when are we doing the right thing? Should we really do it or not?
Fantastic question. I'm going to make another controversial statement. Have you heard of this word ROI? It's the worst thing in the world. ये तो पूरा पागल है बॉस. मैंने अब तक सोचा ये आधा पागल है, बट ये तो पूरा पागल है. Why is ROI the worst thing in the world? Okay, that's interesting. Mahir, it's interesting. You have the answer actually deep inside you. I will give you the articulation for it. All I'm telling you is something you already know. You know, most of the times you only agree with things that you already know. And all the other person is doing it is found the words for what you already know. He's just finding words. He's not teaching you anything. He's just finding words. Is that amazing? Because ROI is return on investment. मैं जो कर रहा हूँ उसका return क्या है? I'll give you a different word. The best answer to that is ROO, return on options. In a world which is becoming more and more uncertain, would you agree that the world is becoming more and more uncertain? What's the scientific reason why that happens? Who's that guy? Man, you're like, can I take him home? Can you package him? I will take him home. If you package him and give it to me, if you come to my home in Nandi Hills, outside you will see the equation called S equal to K log W. Okay? And he will understand why. Right? But the world can only have more and more disorder in the future. That's the scientific law called second law of thermodynamics. What that means is the disorder is nothing but the amount of ignorance. What is not yet ordered, and that can only increase, which by the very nature means that the world is going to become more and more uncertain. What is the best solution to uncertainty? Optionality. You know, Sanam, you don't know whether this is going to be a good husband or this is going to be a good husband or this is going to be a good husband. So you say, I want to have many more possibilities. till I decide. Same thing for you guys also. Many more possibilities. So when you are thinking about problem solving, you have to ask yourselves not whether what is the ROI on this, but what is the ROO, what are the various possibilities. Sometimes even postponing a decision gives you possibilities that you naturally do. I'm not telling you something that you don't know. You naturally do it. So the better word is ROO rather than ROI when you are experimenting. So at all points of time, if you're running 10 experiments, ask yourself, what is the ROO on that? What is the ROO on that? And when the ROO becomes low, ROO also has ROI in it. Because it is what you know it will give you and all the possibilities that it could give you. It is the door you open, but if that door you open has 4 other doors, and this door you open has no other door, but this door gives you 10 rupees, and this door gives you 5 rupees, which one would you do? Now, if you just say 5, 10, then you will take 10. But if you take 5 and then 4 more doors, you'll say maybe the possibility of 5, 5, 5, 5 is 25. So how you think about experimentation should be in terms of ROO rather than ROI. That will give you a perspective of how to think about experimentation. Right? Hey, thanks guys. Really appreciate your time today. Building something amazing, and you are all going to be amazing in the future.